हे गाइस, वेलकम बैक। और आज हम पढ़ने जा रहे हैं इलेक्ट्रिक चार्जेस एंड फील्ड्स का बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट टॉपिक, दैट इज़ कूलम्स लॉ। कूलम्स लॉ बेसिकली इट गिव्स अस अ वे टू मेजर हाउ मच इलेक्ट्रिकल फोर्स एक्ट्स बिटवीन टू चार्ज पार्टिकल्स। लाइक अभी तक हमने सिर्फ ये पढ़ा है दैट टू चार्ज पार्टिकल्स विल exert a force on each other. We have no idea what is the amount of force exerted by the charged particles on each other. So basically Coulomb's law gives us a way of measuring, it gives us a formula for measuring how much force acts between the two objects. Okay, so suppose these are two charged particles, q1 and q2, and there is some distance r between their centers. Fine. So this law states that the force which is exerted between the two particles, it is going to be directly proportional to the product of these charges, and this force will be inversely proportional to the square of the distance between their centers. Fine. It also tells us the direction in which the force acts. It says that the force which acts between these two charged particles is always along the line joining their center. So if this is plus q1 and this is plus q2, the force exerted would be like this. Along the line joining their centers, they are repelling each other. If the charges are of opposite nature, then they will attract each other along the line joining their centers. Fine. So when we combine these two factors, what do we get? Force equals to k times, k is a constant, q1 q2 by r square. This constant has a value of 9 into 10 to power 9 Newton meter square per coulomb square. We will study in detail about this constant later on in the chapter. Fine. This is also known as Coulomb's constant, and this value you have to remember, that the value of Coulomb's constant is 9 into 10 to power 9 Newton meter square per coulomb square. Basically K is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. Here epsilon naught is the permittivity of free space. Okay, basically understand in this way that this factor of 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught takes care of the fact that the force exerted between two particles is going to be dependent upon the medium which is there between the two particles. Like if we go to a medium like water, the force between the charged particle decreases. So by what factors it is going to decrease? That is given by this value of Coulomb constant 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. It is written as epsilon and NaUGHT naught. Okay. So after this we come to Coulomb's law in vector form. Now if you look at this formula for Coulomb law, you will notice that this is just giving me the magnitude of the force. Okay, it is not giving me the direction of the force which is being exerted. So for that, it is much more relevant for us to understand the vector form of Coulomb's law. So now let us study Coulomb's law in vector form. Basically, how is it helpful? Coulomb's law in vector form also gives us the direction in which the force is acting. So for this, let us consider two vectors r21. This is your r21 which is towards q1, and this is r12 which is going to be directed from particle 1 towards particle 2. So this is force 1, meaning the force which is exerted on particle 1 due to particle 2. Okay, if I just want to look at the magnitude of the force, it is going to be 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q1 q2 by r square. So right now I am not going into the direction. Again, if I want to write the magnitude of force exerted on particle 2 due to 1, I will write it as F21 equals to, the magnitude remains the same. So 1 pi 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 R square. Now if I want to have a look what is the direction, because basically this is Coulomb's law in vector form. So now look at the direction of force 1. So direction of force 1 is, if I want to look at the unit vector which is towards Q1, that unit vector would be R21. Okay, so I can write here R21 hat. So force on particle 1 will be directed along the direction R21, and similarly if I want to look at force exerted on particle 2 due to particle 1, this force we can see from the figure, it would be directed along R12 hat. This is the unit vector associated with force 2. So this basically gives us a way of writing and telling the direction associated with the Coulomb's force. From the figure we can also see that these unit vectors R12 hat and R21 hat, they are in opposite direction to each other. So we can write that R12 hat is negative of R21 hat. So basically this would imply that force exerted by both the particles on each other are equal but opposite in nature. So basically Coulomb's law is giving us an additional information in vector form. It is telling us that Coulomb forces are obeying Newton's third law of motion. Fine. And this law also tells us that the Coulombian forces, basically F12 or F21, they are acting along the line joining the center of the two charges. So they are central forces. Now this earlier way of writing Coulomb's law, it was not giving us any clear-cut idea about the central nature of the forces or the third law of motion, but in vector form it gives us these two additional informations. But there are certain shortcomings of Coulombian forces. Okay, we can apply Coulomb forces, Coulomb's law only when electric charges are at rest. Fine. When they are in motion, the law is not valid. Then second shortcoming is that electric charges have to be point charges. So we can not really apply these to very large objects. Okay, but we are able to apply it to situations where the size of the object is very small as compared to the distance between the charges. So if the size of the charges is very small as compared to the distance between them, we can consider in that case the charges to be point charges. But this law is valid only for point charges. Third shortcoming or limitation of Coulomb's law is that the separation which is there between the charges, it has to be greater than the atomic or nuclear size. It has to be greater than nuclear size, because for very small distance like of the size of nucleus, the strong nuclear forces dominate over electrostatic forces. So this law will not hold true in those cases. Okay, so now let us do some questions on this topic, so that because this is an important topic even from the examination point of view. The question says, two insulated charged copper spheres A and B have their centers separated by a distance of 50 centimeter. So first thing to notice here is distance between the charges is given in centimeters, so converted into meters. Next is, what is the mutual force of electrostatic repulsion if the charge on each is 6.5 into 10 to the power minus 7 coulomb. So you are given Q1 and Q2 both as 6.5 into 10 to the power minus 7 coulomb. The distance is given as 50 centimeter, so that would be 50 by 100 meter. The radii of A and B are negligible compared to the distance of separation, which gives us a validity that yes, Coulomb's law will be valid here. Also compare this force with their mutual gravitational attraction if each weighs 0.5 kg. So now the force between the charges can be simply calculated as K times Q1 Q2 by R square. So K I already told you, Coulomb's constant is 9 into 10 to the power 9 Newton meter square per coulomb square. Then I get the force as 9 into 10 to the power 9 multiplied by 6.5 into 10 to the power minus 7 square divided by R square. Fine. So divided by 0.50 square. So this would give me the value of force which is exerted between the particles. So we can calculate it, and the answer comes out to be 1.5 into 10 to the power minus 2 Newton. Fine. Now you can calculate the gravitational force between them. So this would be electrostatic force. So if I have to calculate gravitational force, I'll use the formula G into m1 m2 by R square. The value of G is 6.67 into 10 to the power minus 12. m1 m2 both given as 0.5 kg. Distance between them is 0.5 meter. Fine. So if I compare, this comes out to be 6.67 into 10 to the power minus 11 Newton. Okay, so we can see this is only 10 to the power minus 2 Newton and this is 10 to the power minus 11 Newton. So it is pretty weak. The gravitational force between the particles is going to be very weak as compared to the force of electrostatic between them. Now we come on to the second part of the question, which says, what is the force of repulsion if each sphere is charged double the above amount and the distance between them is half? So let's see, if this was the initial charge. Initial charge was K times Q1 Q2 by R square. Now they are saying both the charges are double, so let's call it new charge. So double up both the charges, 2Q1 2Q2 and half the distance, so R by 2 whole square. So the new force becomes 4 times K Q1 Q2 divided by R square into this 4 in the denominator goes to the numerator. So this becomes 16 times the initial force. So I can see that the new force will then become 16 times the initial force. The last part of the question says, what happens to the force of repulsion if the two spheres are placed in water? And they have given you the dielectric constant of water as AT. Now at this point we have not studied the dielectric constant, so I'll skip this question for now. As and when we do our dielectric constant, we will come back to this question. Our next question is somehow related to our previous question. This question says that suppose the spheres A and B in the previous example have identical sizes, and now we bring a third sphere of the same size but it is uncharged. It is first brought in contact with the first sphere, then it is brought in contact with the second sphere, and then finally it is removed from both. Now what they are asking is, what is the new force of repulsion between A and B? So basically what will happen in this kind of a situation? So to understand this type of a question, recall what will happen when the two spheres are in contact with each other. When they are in contact with each other, then some redistribution of charges will take place. So suppose this is your sphere A and this is your sphere C, which is brought later on. So this sphere was having charge Q, and this sphere was having charge as 0. So when they are brought in contact with each other, what will happen? A redistribution of charges will take place. They will redistribute in such a manner that now both the spheres will have equal amount of charges. Please understand that both are conductors. So redistribution of charges will take place and both will now acquire equal number of charges. Now sphere C is removed from here and it is touched to the sphere B, which is having charge Q. So now this is having charge Q by 2. Earlier it was having charge 0. Now again a redistribution will take place because they ought to have equal amount of charges when they are in contact with each other. So now again a redistribution will take place. So in this case Q plus Q by 2. The total charge here becomes 3Q by 2. Okay. So now half of this, that is 3Q by 4, will be taken up by B and 3Q by 4 will be taken up by C. So again a redistribution has taken place. Now the question says, what is the new force of repulsion between A and B? So now let us look what are the charges on A and B. Now the charge on A is Q by 2 and charge on B is 3Q by 4. Fine. So what would be our new force? Our new force would be K Q1 by 2 3Q2 by 4 divided by, we are not changing the distance between them, so this becomes K Q1 Q2 by R square by 1 by 8. So whatever the earlier force we calculated, the new force, okay, sorry, I missed this 3, so there is a 3 here. So the new charge is, the new force is 3 by 8 time the initial force which was there between the spheres. Fine. So now we come on to our next question. Now this is a question that I have taken from board examinations. It says two identical charges Q are kept at a distance R from each other. So let's make it. So these are two charges plus Q. Okay, it's not given right now whether it is plus Q. So Q and Q, they are kept at a distance R from each other. A third charge Q is placed on the line joining the above two charges such that all the three charges are in equilibrium. What is the magnitude, sign and position of the charge Q? Now this question has been asked many a times in different forms. Fine, sometimes you might be asked only the magnitude, sometimes you might be asked only the sign or the position, or a combination of these three can come. So for this you need to understand the concept. Okay, suppose the third charge that we bring, we place it somewhere here at a point B. So this is A and this is C, and we have placed the charge at point B. This charge is of value small q. It is at a distance x from A. So obviously this distance becomes r minus x. Fine. Now Q इक्विलिब्रियम में कब होगा? Q इक्विलिब्रियम में तभी होगा जब दोनों तरफ से जो फोर्सेस लग रहे हैं वो ऑपोजिट डायरेक्शन में लगे. सो अगर A इसको C की तरफ पुश करे, C इसको A की तरफ पुश करे, then it will stay in equilibrium. Fine. So for that to happen, what should happen? The force exerted by the first charge Q placed at A, KQQ by x square, should be equal to the force exerted by the particle kept at C. So that would be K Q into Q by R minus X whole square. So this gives us x square equals to R minus X whole square. So अभी हम क्या निकाल रहे हैं, अभी हम लोकेशन निकाल रहे हैं कि हम कहाँ पे रखें चार्ज. So this becomes x equals to R minus X. So 2x equals to R. So that means x is equal to R by 2. It means we should place the third charge Q exactly midway between the two charges. Now consider this. Since जो भी हमने चार्ज A पे रखा है वो C से रिपेल होगा, ठीक है. C पे जो भी डिस्चार्ज A एंड डिस्चार्ज C, दे आर गोइंग टू रिपेल ईच अदर. तो ये सिस्टम इक्विलिब्रियम में तब हो सकता है जब जो हम B पे चार्ज रख रहे हैं, इट शुड अट्रैक्ट द चार्ज केप्ट एट A ओनली देन, क्योंकि उसे C से तो रिपल्शन मिल रहा है. अगर B से भी रिपल्शन मिलेगा देन इट कैन नॉट स्टे इन इक्विलिब्रियम. सो B से उसे अट्रैक्शन मिलना चाहिए बिकॉज C से ऑलरेडी उसे रिपल्शन मिल रहा है. सो बेसिकली नाउ टू फाइंड आउट what is the amount of charge that should be kept, we will use the condition that force of repulsion between A and C should be equal to force of attraction between A and B. Only then the system is going to be in equilibrium. Fine. So what is our force of repulsion between A and C? This is my A, this is my C, this is B, this is X, this is R minus X, Q here and small q at this point. Fine. So what is the force of repulsion between charges A and charge C? It is K into Q into small q divided by R by 2 whole square. ठीक है. We have already calculated x as R by 2. This should be balanced by K Q into Q divided by R square. ठीक है. Sorry, this time it would be capital Q, not small q. This is force of repulsion between charges kept at A and C. This is force of attraction between charges kept at A and B. So once we cancel out the similar terms, what are we left with? We are left with, so this becomes 4q divided by R square is equal to q by R square. So this brings us to q as q by R square into R square divided by 4. So q by 4. So it means the charge we are keeping at point B should be 1/4 of the charges placed at each of the ends. Fine. So with this question I have tried to take up different type of questions which might be asked pertaining to Coulomb's law. Fine. You can practice similar questions which I will be giving on the next slide, and then that would give you a good so with this I'll end the lecture for today, and I'll meet you tomorrow again with the topic of relative permittivity.